The next thing I want to speak about is the renewal of the calendar. For many people it is a serious topic, for others it is not that serious, but you see, the slogan of the Church of Epiphanius now is that we go away from Moscow. They say we go away from Moscow, but they don't say where do we go. So the calendar, the renewal of the calendar, for some people it seems that it's not that important issue. That the new calendar, when Christmas is celebrated not on January the 7th, but on December 25th. In Ukraine, we always celebrate it on January the 7th. It was traditional Ukrainian Orthodox Christmas, especially in the western part of Ukraine, where there are a lot of Roman Catholics. It was always considered that on the 7th it is the Orthodox Christmas and on the 26th is the Catholic Christmas. And now this calendar was renewed by the Church of Epiphanius because it was the direction from Patriarch Bartholomew. He said that you have to conduct this calendar reform. And a lot of people, most of the people, just took it very easily. They did not say that it is part of our tradition, that we don't want to renew it. They just accepted it because the leaders said so. And the state also supported that greatly. And the Greek Catholic Church, the UNIA, they also renewed their calendar. So now it is an official holiday on the December 25th. And on January the 7th, it is no longer an official state holiday. But people forget that the Ukrainian Orthodox Church, the Church of Onufrius, they did not change the calendar. They did not do it that easily just because someone said so. We can argue which of the two calendars is more precise, more accurate, but you see, there was no need to do it. We described already very many problems that exist in the Church of Epiphanius. Nobody wants to solve these problems, but they decided to renew the calendar. Why? Why do they need it? It cannot be explained in any way except that it was an order from the ecumenical patriarch. So we rejected something of our own tradition in order to adopt someone else's tradition. And now for the patriotic propaganda, it sounds like the Moscovites celebrate Christmas on the 7th, so we, being different, have to celebrate on the 25th of December. But really, why do we need to do this? It is not that necessary. And the problem is that earlier we used to have the church when it was the Russian church that was under control of Russia. And now we transferred this control to the Constantinople. So the independence of our church is lost. You see, for some people it is not that important, but really it is important. The external control from the West is no better than the external control from Russia, actually. Both from Russia and from the West, it takes away our independence, the state independence and the church independence. So the only independent church that we had was the Church of Kiev Patriarchate led by Patriarch Filaret. It was not recognized, but actually Patriarch Filaret for all the time said that we don't need the recognition. First, we must recognize ourselves. And then the entire world will recognize us. So at first we have to develop our own strength, our own sense of integrity, our own values. And after that, seeing that we are strong inside, others will recognize us as a nation and as a society and as a church. So we have to begin from this strong position. And changing calendars in order to seem good to be fit for someone else outside of Ukraine is a weak position. And it made me very, very sad that people gave it up so easily. And the Church of Onufria, they didn't want to do it. They said that we will remain on our own tradition. The next problem we face is that in Church of Epiphanius, the heretics are very welcomed, let's say. The Church of Epiphanius, it says that we are the open church. We accept everyone who wants to come to us. But in practice, it meant that they participated in lots of heretical activities, these so-called inter-religious movements. For the Patriarch of Constantinople, the inter-religious dialogue for a long time, it is considered something normal. So to pray together not only with Roman Catholics, but also with Muslims and even with the Jews is considered something just fine. And for Ukrainians, for a long time, it was not okay. But now in Church of Epiphanius, it becomes more and more acceptable. For example, several weeks ago, a delegation from Scandinavian countries visited Ukraine. And there is the Autonomous Church of Finland, which recognizes the Orthodox Church of Ukraine. It is an Orthodox church, valid hierarchy. Their Metropolitan celebrated liturgy together with Epiphanius. But later a meeting was conducted, and there was not just this Metropolitan. With him came the group of Protestants from Scandinavian countries, and there were so-called women bishops. And Epiphanius did not condemn this heresy. He didn't say that it is impossible to communicate with you until you participate in this sin, in this profane activity. But he talked to them. He said that we need your help for humanitarian missions in Ukraine, and so on and so on. There is this priest in Kiev called Vitaly Danchak, who is very close to Epiphanius, who is very favored. And year after year, he publishes this on Facebook, that by the blessing of Metropolitan Epiphanius, he visits the Jewish Cultural Center. And on Rosh Hashanah, he lights this, not Rosh Hashanah, the Hanukkah, he lights this menorah together with the Jews. And actually, according to the canons of the church, participation in any Jewish prayer practices for Orthodox, it is entirely forbidden. Of course, as good citizens of our country, we have to follow the state law about religious freedom, about the condemnation of anti-Semitism, and so on and so on. As good citizens, of course, we do that. Of course, as good citizens, we avoid any kind of religious extremism and so on, as citizens. But as Orthodox Christians, we have to follow our canons. Why do we need to participate in the activities of the heretics and of the Jews? There is just no need for that. That doesn't help us in our salvation. Why are we doing that? The Church of Onufria, they don't do it. You can see, you can look it up, they don't participate in these activities. So, of course, we can gather like some kind of conferences, public meetings, discussions, but there must not be any praying together. It is prohibited by our canons. When the previous Pope of Rome, Francis, died, and he is known to make many heretical expressions himself, and even many conservative Catholics criticized him heavily. But when he died, Ukrainian Greek Catholics only wrote an official statement that we are sorry. But Epiphanius the same day gathered all his priests and prayed openly for the soul of Francis. It was like a panachida for him. Why did he do that? We cannot say. So this practice is very very bad, and some experts even say that Metropolitan Epiphanius is trying to bring Ukrainians into new unia, to unite with the Greek Catholics, because Greek Catholics, they are also declaring to be Orthodox. They say we are just an administrative union with Rome, with the Vatican, but we are Orthodox entirely. It is a lie, it is not true. But they are striving to create some kind of one church here in Ukraine and to call it a national Ukrainian church. Not Orthodox, but a national Ukrainian church. And Greek Catholics in the Western Ukraine, their positions are very strong, and they declare for many decades already, they declare that they are the national church. So now the goal is to unite with the Orthodox Church of Ukraine, Church of Epiphanius, and declare this national church. So for them, national church is on the first place, and Orthodox, unfortunately, very unfortunately, is on the second place. The next thing that gives me a lot of pain from our church is that we see that any kind of opposition is destroyed. You see, in time when Patriarch Filaret was governing Ukrainian church, he was very harsh. He had very strong character, and his ways of governing the church were very like totalitarian. He controlled everything, and everyone was afraid of him. And as I stated earlier, it was one of the reasons why the bishops were happy to receive the new leader, the young Metropolitan Epiphanius, and not the old and strict Patriarch Filaret. But now any kind of opposition is destroyed. Epiphanius surrounded himself with very close circle, and everyone who falls outside of this circle is considered an enemy. There are several very known in the media, charismatic, popular bishops who are constantly oppressed because they are not in the close circle of Epiphanius. It is Metropolitan Mikhail of Volyn, and Metropolitan Alexander from Kiev, Alexander Drabinko, who left the Church of Onufrius and joined Church of Epiphanius in 2019. They are oppressed because they are popular themselves, and Epiphanius doesn't want anyone to be more popular than himself. Also we have huge problem when older bishops are abandoned. They are just left alone on their own, and nobody cares for them. They are not given any money by the church. They are not helped in any way. They are not given a place to live. They just had to make it on their own when they are old and sick and cannot take care of themselves anymore. For example, I have a good friend, Bishop Yaroslav Yasenets, who was the bishop in the city of Zhytomyr for a long time. And later, due to his older age, he was retired from that diocese, but he was not offered any financial aid. He had to go and work as like security guard just to feed himself. And he was more than 60 years old already. And then several years ago, a stroke hit him, and it was almost impossible for him to move or speak. Now he is feeling a little bit better, but still he is very weak. And thank God that he had distant relatives who are now helping him. He is living in the hospice, but Epiphanius did not visit him even one time. He did not offer him financial support. He didn't offer even to bring him to his cathedral for Bishop Yaroslav to participate in the liturgy and receive the communion. Only the younger priests who were his friends, friends of Bishop Yaroslav, or on their own initiative came and helped him. Otherwise, he would be left completely abandoned and forgotten. And it makes Bishop Yaroslav very, very sad. He is often crying. Why did they do this to me? Why they are treating me like that, like I am already dead? And it is very sad to look at this. Also, there is Bishop Onufry of Kitsmany, who also is already old and sick, and he also does not receive any financial support. There is Bishop Kirill of Uzhhorod from the western Ukraine, who also already does not have enough strength. He's still the ruling bishop, but he has only one church in his diocese. He's already very old, and he also does not receive any help, any care, and any assistance. So it shows how Epiphanius can just throw away those whom he does not need anymore. And now on the very, very important issue about Patriarch Filaret. So I used to tell about him, how he started the Ukrainian Independent Church in 1992. I told that he had a harsh character and strong will and controlled everything, and many bishops were afraid of him. And these bishops who are ruling today, like Epiphanius and Yevstrati Zorya and Agapit and others, they are like his spiritual children. So he took them as young boys from some distant villages. He brought them up. He gave them their positions, their consecrations. He gave them everything they have now. And when Patriarch Filaret, after the receiving of official recognition, he said that our church, it used to be independent, it used to be the patriarchate, and then it became totally dependent on the Patriarch on Constantinople and Greek Church. He said that we lost our true church independence. And he declared that we have to leave this sphere of control of Constantinople. But Epiphanius refused to follow his orders. And you see there, when the new leader of the church was elected, the ecumenical patriarch set a condition, and this condition was actually uncanonical, but he said this condition that Patriarch Filaret must not strive to receive the ruling post. There were several reasons for that. One of the reasons was that in the Orthodox world, many people treated Filaret as a schismatic because of many decades of Russian propaganda. The other was because they tried to unite the two branches of Ukrainian Orthodoxy, and those in the Church of Onufrios rejected Filaret completely due to his personal character. So officially Epiphanius was elected, but there was an unofficial agreement that they will rule the church together, that Epiphanius, being young and not very experienced, not very well educated, will follow all the advices of Patriarch Filaret. So Filaret will remain a kind of unofficial leader. But Epiphanius refused. Epiphanius said that he will govern on his own, and he doesn't need any advices of his spiritual father, Patriarch Filaret. And Filaret was very sad about it. He was struck by this treason. And all the bishops who only several days ago praised him and said that you are the spiritual father, you are one of the best people in our Ukrainian nations today, you are our Geronda, and so on and so on and so on, they just refused to talk to him anymore. They were all near Epiphanius and say, now you are the best of the best of the best, and Patriarch Filaret is no longer, doesn't mean anything to us. And it is very sad, because anything that is built on a treason will not last for a long time. So that way we see that that Patriarch Filaret felt himself betrayed. He consecrated several bishops from his close surroundings who supported him. So now we have already not 2 but 3 parallel hierarchies. So the Church of Onufrius, the Church of Epiphanius, and a very small but the most independent church of the Kiev Patriarchate, the church led by Patriarch Filaret. And I am now under his homophorian. And Patriarch Filaret is already very old. He's 96 years old, and he still, like, his condition of health is very, very bad. And but still he understands everything clearly. It is already very hard for him to speak. He can no longer celebrate the liturgy. He celebrated the liturgies on his own up to August of this year. Now he cannot celebrate, but he is just sitting in the altar during the service. His health condition is very bad. And now Epiphanius and his people are trying to persuade Filaret to reject his position of the patriarchal status. They are trying to force him to do it. They are constantly pressuring him. They are sending people to him. And Patriarch Filaret cannot oppose them just due to his very, very bad state of health. But a month ago he issued his like spiritual testament, his last will, where he declared that the true Ukrainian church must be led by the patriarch, and it must not be dependent neither on Moscow nor on Constantinople, that it should be the totally autocephalous church of our own, even if we will not be recognized for some time more. And what makes me what gives me the biggest pain looking at all this situation, when I see this treason, when Epiphanius was the servant of the patriarch for his entire life, and now he's completely rejecting him and says that Patriarch Filaret is already no one, he is very old, and we don't want to respect his will, and we will do everything on our own. So now, as I see it, I see these events that are in the several last days. Patriarch Filaret is forced to sign different documents, and he is put under so much pressure that he cannot reject that. So can you imagine a 96-year-old man with bad health who is forced to do something that he doesn't want to do? It's worse than domestic violence over an elderly man. So please, I encourage everyone to pray for him. And so you see, let's make some conclusions already. In the Soviet times, in the beginning of the Soviet regime, the official, like, Russian Orthodox Church was banned. And there was created a religious group called the Obnovlenцы, so the renewals. This was the group of semi-Orthodox modernists who did not have valid hierarchies, consecrations, and sacraments. They were more like Protestants. They believed that the church must be renewed, that many issues that are in the church are already old and out of date, and that they must be changed. So the Soviet regime favored them for a long time as a so-called opposition to the true and traditional Orthodox Church. But when, during the times of Stalin, these obnovlenцы, the renewals, were no longer needed, they were just rejected, their hierarchy was destroyed, executed, and imprisoned, and no people followed them. There was nothing left of their religious group. And unfortunately, I see that the Orthodox Church of Ukraine, Church of Epiphanius, is becoming more and more like that. It is becoming a puppet in the hands of Ukrainian government. And let's be honest, Ukrainian government is very unchristian. Actually, they are very secular. They are just thinking about earning their money, and they don't care about God, about our Lord Jesus Christ, about the church, about the sacraments and salvation and deification. They don't care about this at all. So they're just using Epiphanius and his church as a puppet in order to carry out some things. They understand that at the moment they can use them as opposition to the Church of Onufrius, and the Church of Onufrius is bad for them not because it is connected to Russia. It is bad for them because it is traditional, because it indeed carries values and true faith. So that is the biggest problem. Now, if you criticize the Orthodox Church of Ukraine, you are considered unpatriotic, and that you criticize the government itself, especially in the time of war. And after publishing the Ukrainian version of this video with the description of all the problems, I received a lot of critics, I received a lot of threats. They accused me that I'm working for Moscow, that they accused me that I'm a spy, that I was paid money by Russian agents in order to issue that video. I was threatened that I will not be accepted anywhere else, that I will not be needed as a priest. Some people say that I must be like punished for my activity, and so on and so on. And that is why I ask you very much, please pray for me, and if you can send some financial support, I will leave the number of my account in the description to this video. I would be very grateful if you help me somehow. These are very hard times for me now. I'm very oppressed for my voice of truth. But the most important thing, please help us to spread this truth among people. The people who benefit most from these failures of the Orthodox Church of Ukraine and Epiphanius are the Greek Catholics, the Uniats. Because, as I mentioned earlier, they say that they want to be the national church. And as long as Epiphanius fails more and more and makes a fool of himself in the Orthodox world, the Greek Catholics are actually very hardworking. They are creating universities, seminaries, missions. They are bringing up and ordaining new priests, and they can gain popularity even in very un-Catholic regions in the eastern and southern Ukraine, because they are working very hard. And of course they have more chances to be recognized as a so-called national church in the eyes of patriotic segment of Ukrainian people. So they benefit most from this, and I believe that very soon this project called the Orthodox Church of Ukraine, led by Epiphanius, will be stopped. And then the attention will be brought, of our government will be brought from Orthodox to the Uniats. Because for our government, they don't really care what religious group is there. As long as this religious group fulfills their interest, it will be just fine for them. So let's say a few words, how can we solve this situation, what can we do? So the most important thing, Metropolitan Epiphanius must resign from the head post. So he has either to resign himself, or he must be persuaded or forced to resign. The bishops or even state authorities have to force him to resign, because as long as he remains on the head of the Orthodox Church of Ukraine, no positive changes will occur, and no unification of Ukrainian Orthodoxy or further recognition of this church in the world will happen. So Epiphanius must resign. That is the main condition. He must not be remained on this post. The second, we have to draw our attention again to Patriarch Filaret. As long as he is alive, he is the symbol. He is the symbol of Ukrainian church independence. He is the symbol of the Kiev Patriarchate, the independent Ukrainian church. We have to declare that our church is the Patriarchate once more. We don't care. Are we recognized or are we not recognized? The most important thing for us now is to have the independent church here in Ukraine. When Patriarch Filaret rests in peace, we will elect a new patriarch after him. And then we will strive for recognition, for unification, for communication with other churches, but from the strong position. We would not need Constantinople to take us by hand and bring us to the world. We will come to the world ourselves. As once in the 16th century Moscow used to do. They just declared themselves an autocephalous church. They broke up with Constantinople. They declared that they will have a patriarch of their own. And they were not recognized for 150 years. Can you imagine? The Russian church was considered schismatic for 150 years once in the good old days. But they didn't care. As long as their empire, this Russian empire, was strong, that time they did not care if they are recognized or they are not recognized. And that is what Ukraine must do. We have to follow their example. We must not wait for someone to recognize us or grant us support. We must work on our own. We must make others respect us, not wait until someone looks at us and offers us something. That is the strong position, I believe. And the third idea is that we have to find an agreement with the Ukrainian Orthodox Church led by Metropolitan Onufrius. So our government has to form the new policy towards the church. Now it is rejected, now it is oppressed, but this policy